feels so good to have people back in the auditorium, to have people back at all of our sessions. So welcome. Just a few housekeeping things or reminders. On the seats, you have a flyer like this. Talks about the Mind, Body, Spirit festivals or fairs that we have coming up. The next one is October 23rd. The big holiday or holiday gift bazaar is November 20th. So those are on a Saturday. Please put them on your calendar. We'd love to see you again. The next few conscious community sessions that we have coming up, we'll do the ads first, Cindy, sorry. On November 10th is Eben Alexander, and I really don't think he needs any introduction. He is renowned for near-death experience work. He is a academic neurosurgeon who had a very powerful experience quite a number of years ago and has written about it. Powerful personality. He will be coming to Conscious Community via Zoom or via the Facebook page. So keep an eye out in your emails or on Facebook on any of the Edgar Casey pages, because there will be more announcements about how you take advantage of that. On December 8th, we have A.R.E, who is a psychic medium and tarot reader. She's been here at the A.R.E quite a few times. She will be zooming in from, I believe, California. But tonight, we have, when I think of the favored people and our, will I call you famous? Sure, famous. Cindy Griffith. She's going to be talking about illuminating your intention, working with crystals and cards. Cindy has so much background and so much spiritual groundedness as a psychic, a spiritual teacher, conference speaker, and blogger. She's here at the A.R.E quite a bit, so I really don't think I'm going to waste more time in talking about Cindy, because here she is, and she can take care of everything tonight.
Thank you. All righty. Well, welcome both in person and online. This idea of being able to do hybrids is just so exciting for me, because I love seeing people in the audience, and I love the fact that people that can't make it here for whatever reason, maybe they don't live close enough or they're not able to get out of the house, can still enjoy. But one of the things that I find is so amazing about these events is the camaraderie. And so I hope whether you're online or you're in person, you'll take some time after the event to just chit chat and get to know each other. You know, don't just run out the door. Don't be afraid to check out to see who's here, why they're here, and what maybe they took away from tonight. So we're going to be talking about combining two very powerful elements of divination cards, in this case crystal divination cards, and crystals. And so what you'll learn today is what are divination cards, how do you use them, why would you use them, and then intention. We're going to be talking a lot about the conscious focus of our mental capacity in creating our reality. How and why we want to set our intention. Then we're going to be looking at creating sacred space and filling it with what we're using to focus and create our intention or manifest our intention. We're going to talk about what crystals, okay, let me word it this way. We're going to talk about what I think or I find are great crystals for different intentions. But one of the things that I say to people is don't worry about what the book says or the crystal expert says. You're going to have intuitively or even just energetically, you'll be attracted to the right crystals to use to set your intention. It doesn't matter if I say that selenite is the best cleanser, clearer, charger that there is known to man. It may be, but anyway. But if you think it's ugly, it's not going to work. right? If you don't look at it and say, ooh, what clear, clean energy, it's not going to work. It needs to have your stamp on it. It needs to resonate or with you. It needs to feel right with you. So as an example, and this is I don't expect you to be able to see this, right? You know, to see the detail. But I bought this at the rock, you know, there was a rock and gem show and jewelry thing at the in Virginia Beach last week, and the Brazil guy had these crystals, and they look like something called 1,000 layer. But when you pick it up, the energy isn't 1,000 layer. And so to all my little crystal expert friends, I brought it in to say, what the heck is this? And they're like, wow, it doesn't feel like blah, 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 you know? And everyone got a different vibe from it. Not a good vibe or a bad vibe, just a different vibe. And so one crystal can have a different reaction for each person. They all thought it was incredibly cool because it is an incredibly cool crystal, but each one was like, you know, and each one was like, did you see this? No, did you see this? You know, each one, something stood out different to each one. And so today I'm gonna tell you what I think. But then, gosh, I hope you throw that away and you go into, when they're open, the A.R.E bookstore, and you go and look at the crystals and say, gosh, I picked this one up. I feel so safe. Now I know, you know, that's safety. So for me, right, that's a safety crystal for me. And it may not be for somebody else. Someone else might be, like for example, one person picked this up and they're like, wow, normally when I pick up a high vibration, I feel X. But when I feel this, I feel like I tilt to the side, you know, which is not grounded at all. Now that could be a high vibration crystal, right? But it's not a grounded crystal. And so maybe this isn't the best crystal for that person if they're trying to stay centered and grounded. If when they pick it up, they feel like they tilt to the side. So anyway, I'll give you some insight into different crystals, but then, yeah, throw it away and just go and play. And the more you play with the crystals, the more you'll know. So anyway, everyone has a personal preference, but then we're going to put it all together using divination cards, using the crystals, creating the sacred space in order to set and energize and seal your intention. So now Q&A. Please hold your questions till the end. If you're online, we have two different people, because we're broadcasting, I think, to two different Facebook pages. We have two different people who are watching the feed or the commentary in the Facebook page for your questions. But for you guys here, at the end, we'll be opening it up for questions. We'll take some from here and some from Facebook. You know, we'll go back and forth. So please hold your questions. But if you're online, you can write the questions as we go because we do have someone monitoring. We have two people, actually. So setting your intention, the how and the why. First things first, right? We need to set intentions. Well, why should we set an intention? One can wish. You know, we've said that, oh, I wish I was organized, right? When we can just wish, or we can, or hope, you know, I hope I get organized, or we can consciously set an intention and then support it. Now, we're at the Casey Center, and you cannot be at the Casey Center without talking a little bit about ideals, and so I'm just going to briefly at some point talk about it, but you set your intention similarly to how you set an ideal. So are you a wisher or a make it happen person? And I find that I tend to be a wisher until I really get serious. And then I set my intention. Now, one of the things you can read here, one can simply wish and hope or consciously set an intention and support it. And the key word is conscious. If you've heard the expression, energy goes where attention flows, or energy flows where attention goes, you know, people say it different ways. When you put your mental focus or attention on something, the energy to support it gets sent. And this is why if you're constantly focusing on something negative, you tend to get drained and exhausted. If you're constantly focusing on something positive, you tend to get drained and exhausted. You know, they may be different, drained and exhausted, but if you've ever done a happy thing, you know, where you've been so excited, maybe you're gonna move, you're gonna have a wedding, or you're gonna have a divorce, you know, whatever you're excited about, it can be draining, right? So, but also, if you're constantly focusing about a worry or a concern or a fear, it's draining, because energy follows where your consciousness, where your thoughts go. So if we are consciously focused on our intention, it's like having a battery set up to the intention. You are going to be feeding it and energizing that intention, and it's going to allow it to be much more successful. Conscious focus brings the energy to the wish and turns it into an intention and gives it the energy to manifest. Conscious focus, or what we're going to see by creating a sacred space, creates a conscious reminder to keep the energy flowing towards your intention. And creating a sacred space adds conscious attention and energy. And we're going to see how we take these crystals, and we take, we have a little stand over there my husband made to set our intention. So we're going to do that through using divination cards. But I want to tell you a little story about intention for me. Right? This is just personal. When I first met my husband, he did not understand how I manifested money. And he was a little bit of a worrier about money. And so when I need something, I'll say, okay, we need to go out and find out how much it's going to cost, right? And so if I need a computer, he's like, but your computer's not dead yet, you know? And I'm like, yeah, but I need to know how much I need to manifest for that computer. I need to set a conscious figure. I need to consciously set a figure in order to manifest that finances. And so through life, now my husband's gotten used to it. We've been married 20 years this year. He's gotten a little bit used to it, but throughout our relationship, he has grown to understand or to see that that's my way. Now that may not be your way, right? But for me, and it's not only financial, this is why we write down our goals for the year, right? I recently found, you know, I have an Apple, right? I have an iPhone, and it has notes in it. And not too long ago, I found notes for, I think, in the beginning of 2019 or 2018, I forget when it was, but I had written down what I wanted for the year. You know, it was just setting my intention. And I read through it, and I hadn't manifested everything, but I had manifested quite a bit. I really feel this idea of writing it down. It brings it into the conscious mind, and it also allows you to be on the lookout for opportunities that support and move you closer to that intention, right? So when I go and I say, ooh, I don't want to use laptop because I don't want to need a laptop, right? Okay, well, we just found out we're probably going to need a roof soon, right? So within a year or two. So I need to find out now what a roof's going to cost, because I have no idea. And so now what I'll do is once I get that number, I'll consciously have the number, and I will be able to keep an eye out for ways that the universe is supporting me to get enough for that roof. Now that may be increased business. We don't know how it's going to come, but once it's conscious, then we can consciously see how the universe is setting us up for success. Because I do believe that a lot of our lack of success is more of a lack of not noticing how the universe has set us up for success. Again, conscious, making it conscious. So let's talk about divination cards, because that's one part of our setup here. We're going to have divination and crystals to set our and solidify and energize our intentions. So a divination deck is a deck of cards that uses words, symbols, and images to provide a simple and effective way to access your guide's advice, to set your intention, to send things out to the universe. A divination deck comes in many shapes and sizes, like literally it comes in many shapes and sizes. They're usually bigger than my little hands work well with, but after years of using the tarot, I've gotten a little better with the big cards, but you may find they're a little clumsy at first. The deck of cards, it's different than tarot. I'll talk about that in a minute, but they usually have a symbol and words on them. A symbol and words. And that is why they're so easy. They have, like in this example, I have a picture of ocean jasper, because it's a crystal deck, right? And it says ocean jasper, and it says schedule yourself in. I love this deck. It's really just like to the point. Schedule yourself in. And how often do we go throughout the day and we forget to schedule ourselves in? What are our needs in? And so this crystal, ocean jasper in this deck, is giving me the message, schedule myself in. Another one might be, here we have lepidolite, recall your dreams. So if I was to pull this card for the day, then maybe I might want to say, oh, do I remember any dreams last night? Or maybe I would put this by my bedside as a conscious reminder of my intention to recall my dreams for overnight into the next day. And then when I wake up, I see this. It's a conscious reminder to help me remember to be able to say, okay, what was I dreaming about? So we can use these decks. They use pictures and words, symbols, images, all of those things. It's very effective. It's very easy to use. And we do that. I was going to talk about the differences. So the difference between a divination deck and a tarot deck is tarot decks have 78 cards. Every tarot deck has 78 cards. It has 22 what are called major arcana, which are our journey as souls to spiritual enlightenment or spiritual maturity. We start at the Fool and we end up at the World. It's the same in every deck. They may change the names and the pictures, but the basic concept is the same. 22 what are called major arcana, and they are the steps we go through as souls in order to mature spiritually. And then we have the minor arcana, which are the other 54 cards in the deck, which have to do with elements. So if you open a deck and it doesn't have 78 cards, it's a divination deck. It'll probably have pictures, symbols, and words on it. Now, some divination decks will not have maybe pictures. Maybe they'll just have words. Some divination decks, the opposite, you know. But they are different from the tarot deck in that respect, and they are much easier. There's no learning curve with a divination deck. You pull a card, you read or say, what does that symbol mean to me? And that's what it is. You know, there's no learning curve of having to learn the tarot. The other thing with the divination decks, and they come in, you can get angels, you can get spirit guides, you can get feng shui, you can get hedgehogs, you know, I mean, they have every fairies and dragons, you know, every imaginable deck in divination cards. And if you go when the bookstores open, there's a plethora of different divination decks. And this one, they do have available after the event, or you can, if you're online, you can contact the bookstore and they have these available, the ones that I'm working with tonight. So they're perfect for all levels. You don't need to be an expert to use a divination deck. And they do have the different decks for the different interests. And so I am really doing a lot with crystals right now. So the crystal deck fits me. You may find that you are an herb person, right? Maybe you love herbs and tinctures and wild, flowers and things like that. You may find that a deck would speak to you more if it was herbs or flowers or more nature oriented. right? I had a student one time who's really into fairies, and so maybe a fairy deck would be better for her. So just because I'm using a crystal deck doesn't mean you can't apply the same intention setting and energizing with one of the other divination decks, right? This is the one that, because I'm using crystals, this is the one that makes the most sense. So, and here is the deck I'm using. So, daily crystal inspirations, and it has different crystals on each card, then the name and the meaning. This is really one of my new favorite decks. I do something called Tarot Insights every Sunday night at 7:15, except for next Sunday. It's going to be at 6:30, but or 6 o'clock. Every Sunday at 7:15, and after I do the reading for the week, it's a free thing I do on Facebook, I pull a crystal card, and that's our message and our crystal for the week. So, how do we use a divination deck? Well, it depends if you're using it purposefully to set your intention or you're using it for daily guidance. If you're using a divination deck for daily guidance, it's as simple as pulling a card each day to either answer a question or receive guidance for the day. You can pick more than one card, you can pick a spread. Most decks will come with a little booklet, and they will have, I don't know if this one does because I never bother with that. They will often have a spread that you can do, but it also will give instructions of how they would use the deck. I never even look at that because I want to do it the way I want to do it, right? I'm not going to worry about how everybody else does it. But anyway, that's just my independent streak. So if you want to use a divination deck for guidance, then what I would say is get into a calm and centered place and you pull a card. You could pull a card asking any question. One of the things that I like to know is what do I need to keep in mind today? And I pull a card, embrace change. Oh no! So and there's beautiful phantom quartz in there. Actually, it looks a little bit like our quartz that we couldn't figure out. But anyway, embrace change. And so if this was first thing in the morning, then I have consciously brought to the front of my mind, embrace change. My angels, my guides, whatever your belief system is that drives this process is telling me to embrace change. Okay. Now, so the other thing you can do is you can have a specific question. You know, let's say you have okay, so let's say tomorrow I'm dealing with a coworker. What's the best way to get the best results out of my coworker tomorrow? Take pleasure in the things you do. Sunstone. Take pleasure in the things you do. And so what I would do is I would kind of contemplate on what does that mean for working with my coworker? Maybe we need to have fun, you know, have a little fun. Now, the other way that you can use the deck is you can use it purposefully, which is what we're going to be focusing on tonight, right? We're going to be purposeful. And so I would choose a specific card that relates to the energy that you want to promote. Now, here I've used the example of Sodalite. Sodalite is speak your truth. And so let's say I'm going into a meeting with somebody. Well, like today, I had a disagreement with the guy with our sunroom about our roof. And I really had a feeling I was not going to get the change I wanted. But I wanted him to redo it. Anyway, I didn't have a feeling I was going to get my way, but I felt like I needed to speak my truth. So what I could have done is looked at this card. Okay, this is what I need to deal with the roofer today, and then go and find, I don't have one here, I didn't think to pull one, but anyway, let's pretend this is Sodalite, and maybe put this, as all ladies do, in the brassiere, or if you have a pocket, right, put it in my pocket, or maybe in a little pouch, right? And have that with me as both an energetic support, because the soda light is going to support the throat chakra. It's blue, so it's going to support the throat chakra, but it also has the vibration, because the card is connected to it, of helping me to speak my truth. So not only am I energetically supporting it by carrying around my little soda light, because I doubt you're going to put this on your forehead, you know what I mean, or something. You could. It'd make your brassiere stick out a little much. But it also is a conscious reminder, because when I feel it, it's going to remind me, oh, speak my truth. And I did. He knows I'm not happy. I didn't need the soda light, I'm embarrassed to say. Anyway, so speak your truth. So we can use them for guidance or purpose. But so if we're going to use them for guidance, we formulate a question, take a few deep breaths. So in other words, if you have a question and you are all, there's an expression, zerfleugend, right? You're all like, ugh, over it, right? It's going to be really hard for you to get a clear answer, because your mumbled up energy is going to affect, your pulling is going to affect the card. So take a breath. Know that question. Maybe even repeat it or write it down. Because what happens often when we do this is, let's say we want to know how to handle a difficult coworker. I'm blessed, I have really good people that work for me, but let's say we have a difficult coworker. And so we're pulling the card and we're like, how do I deal with difficult coworker? Oh, I wonder if someone's gonna find out what she did last week. Oh my gosh, is she the one that took my parking spot? And then all of a sudden the cards are no longer answering, how do I handle my coworker? It's answering, did she take your parking spot, right? So it's really important, it's really key when you're using a divination deck. Take a breath. If you can, write down the question. If not, repeat it in your mind. What do I need to know about helping, what will help most with the coworker? What will help most with the coworker? What will help most with the... And so what I pulled for my imaginary coworker was black kyanite. Set strong boundaries. Right? So if I had a difficult coworker, that's what I would need to do. But it's not answering, did she take my parking spot, right? So take a breath. And then how does this relate to your card? Set strong boundaries. Well, that's pretty clear. That one's a hard one to misinterpret, right? But let's take a different one. Be the bigger person. Let's say you got be the bigger person. Remember, so you're saying, how does this have to do? Well, she needs to be the bigger person, obviously, and just fess up to what she did. I don't think that's what it's really telling us, right? So it's important not to make the card fit what you want it to say, right? Because it's probably saying, let it go. Kind of like my husband told me with the roof. Just let it go, Cindy. I didn't see a let it go card here. Anyway, there's probably one in there. Okay. Now, but how are we going to use it? We are going to use it for setting an intention. Whoops. It's so funny. I think for some reason I have to point it. There is no electronics that this thing is going to, but I feel like I have to point it there. Okay. So first we decide on our intention. Once we decide, and in this case, throughout the whole thing, I've kind of planned my intention for financial abundance. And this was before I found out about the roof. So, I think it's kind of fitting. So I planned it first. So let's say our intention is for financial abundance. Now, you can say abundance, but abundance could be abundance of love, abundance of health, abundance of friendships, right? So be specific, unless you don't want to be specific. I mean, you don't have to be specific, but an intention will work better if it's a little more specific. So I'm picking financial abundance. So think about what it is, the energy, what's the energy that will help with my intention. And then what you would do is you would look through the deck and you would find 1, 2, 3. You're going to see we found a number of cards that are going to help with this. Find a card that you think would fit. And so let's say I decide my card, let me pick one that I actually have up here. Apophyllite, okay. So let's say I decide that what is really going to help me with financial abundance is to stay positive. Because in my example, which is maybe true, maybe not true, I shall not admit that if I'm feeling negative, I maybe spend more money than I should. So for me, when I'm thinking about financial abundance, what's really going to help me is stay positive. Now that is the message, but the crystal associated in this case with this deck is apophyllite. Well, this came from the bookstore, only $9.95, it's beautiful, is this beautiful apophyllite. And so what I might do, let's say I'm going to do this, and I have a tendency maybe to get cranky on the phone when I'm talking to, I don't know, family member, which is not true. I actually usually do really well with family members. But let's just say, for example, maybe what I would do is I would put the apophyllite and the card in front of me, conscious energy to support, in front of me when I'm going to have that phone conversation. Or maybe I put it in the morning where I brush my teeth and where I'm looking at myself and I'm remembering every morning, stay positive. Now you could pick, you don't need a beautiful fancy crystal like this, although this really is pretty. You don't need that. Let's say, let's just go back to one that we have. All right, so here's iolite. Iolite is shift your money mindset. That's another good one, right? And here I have this little tiny iolite. Not fancy at all, but it has that energy, especially combined with the kind of affirmation or the intention. The intention is to shift your money mindset. And so if I put this in my pocket, when I'm starting to feel poverty consciousness or starting to feel like, oh, I'm never going to have enough, I have that reminder, oh, wait, I'm working on, my intention is to shift that money mindset and to not get stuck in that money mindset. And I have my apophyllite to bring it back to my consciousness because that's where it will have energy to grow. So not only does the vibration of the crystal feed the intention, remember, energy goes where attention goes, energy flows, whatever that expression is, right? So this is also going to bring energy to because my attention gets back to my energy, or my attention gets back to my intention. That's the way you say it. So it doesn't have to be a big fancy crystal. And you can normally get these little ones from $2 to $5. Now some of them are more expensive, like a rhodochrosite might be $5 to $10 for a tumbled. It might be a little bit more. So we've decided our intention, we've picked the card, and then we create the sacred space. So let's say I'm not using crystals, right? Let's say I'm not using crystals. Let's say that my intention is, we're going to stay with financial abundance. You ever see those Buddhas with their hands up in the air? They're good for financial abundance. A lot of times they're green, the happy Buddha. So good for a bunch of different things. But maybe you go to the 5 and dime store and get yourself a glow-in-the-dark little happy Buddha. I always think of them doing the happy dance. Maybe you get one of those. Or maybe the time you felt richest was when your kid was little and they made an ashtray. We're going back in years. They made you an ashtray. And that you felt just so rich. So rich. So maybe you take your affirmation and you put that little ashtray with it, right? Because when you look at that ashtray, you see abundance, abundance of love, right? Maybe you didn't even smoke, but that's what the kid made, you know, because everybody used to make ashtrays back in the day. Then another thing is, how long are you going to leave it up for? You know, like, is this a lifelong affirmation or intention? Because you do the same thing with affirmations. Is it a lifelong intention? Is it one that you just feel like you want to energize for a week, for a day? You know, how long do I want to keep this up? That's going to come and be important later. So just remember that you also want to kind of think about, how long am I going to work on this one? Picking the right crystal. There's a lot of different ways to pick crystals. Remember I said the best way to pick your crystal really is to just sit with it. So what I would suggest, let me just take a drink. Okay. Drink enough smart water, eventually I'll be smart. So let's say I want to see how I react to a crystal. How does a crystal work for me? Well, I happen to have this very pretty rhodonite heart. Rhodonite is pink and black. It's a heart-centered stone because it's pink. And I know that in my head. But what if I didn't know that? What if I just came across this stone, or kind of like this one? I have no idea what this is. I mean, I have a little bit of an idea, but anyway, came across this stone, and I'm like, I want to know what this is good for. Well, the first thing I would do is I would put it down, and I would say, where am I? Where's my energy? What does my energy feel like? If you haven't noticed, I use breath to center. For me, I get in the golf pose, legs slightly spread apart, you know. You can't see that because there's a podium here. But my legs are slightly spread apart, like I'm going to start with the golf ball. And I just take a deep breath, and I let my shoulders relax, and I just relax into my feet. So I feel grounded, centered, and ready. And I check in. How am I feeling? Ooh, feeling a little pitter-pottery. Oh, maybe it's because I'm up here speaking and I don't give myself enough time to catch my breath. Okay, that's a sign. Well, let me get rid of that. Took an extra one. That's better. Okay. So now I'm in my usual, slightly hyper, but okay space. So I know that's me. Then I would pick up my crystal. I would hold it. Now some people would say you hold it in the left hand because the left hand's the receiving end. Some people say hold it in the right hand because that's the giving hand. Hold it in whatever hand you want. Maybe hold it for both, and then you don't have to worry about it if you have it in the right hand. And again, just take a breath. And see how it feels different. Like, how do I feel now? And I do feel a little bit of energy in the heart center. Now, whether that's psychosomatic or not, I don't know, because I do know this is a heart stone. But it's also shaped like a heart, so it's going to have the archetypal energy of a heart associated with it. But I also feel really grounded, which basically means connected, not flighty. Well, so for me, this crystal is going to mean grounded and heart-centered. But I also keep getting pulled to that at one point, and again, it's too small for you to see it, but there's a little crack running right along there. Like it got a little scraped, but it's okay. And so there's also a little energy of kind of the heart survived a little hardship, right? So this particular crystal is going to have the archetypal energy of the heart shape. It's going to be having to do with heart-centered love, things like that. It has the vibration of heart-centered but also grounded. But there's a little extra about surviving, maybe a tough situation and coming out of it, yeah, a little scrape, but still just as beautiful, right? So that's how you decide what a crystal means to you. Now, let's say you're not good with the feely stuff. Well, where does your mind go? Maybe you're a mental, not a mental case, but more of a mental person. Then, are your thoughts all over the place? Do they feel calmer than usual? That's how you do that. But let's say you're like, oh, Cindy, I'm not good at that. Give me some direction. Well, here we go. Another way that you can tell crystals is by color. It has to do with the chakras. So if you know the chakras, this will look familiar. White or clear crystals are usually the chakra above the crown. So it's a spiritual purity. It's about raising vibrations. But also it's going to energize, because that really is part of our source. Black crystals are going to do the same thing because they're the base chakra, they're our ground, they're also part of our source. I realized after I don't have black up on here, so I'll talk about that. Red is a grounding crystal. Red, we have something like, and again, I don't expect you to see these because they're so small, but we have something like red jasper. Any red crystal is going to be very grounding. It's going to be practical, energy, physical. It's first chakra stuff. It's earthy stuff. The second chakra, which is the sacral chakra, is orange. And so anything that's orange is going to have to do with sociability, sexuality, fertility, creativity, and emotions. It has to do with emotions. The third chakra is the solar plexus. Solar, yellow. It's going to have to do with empowerment, clarity, willpower, calm. It's mental, the mind. The solar plexus rules the mind. The fourth chakra, which is green or pink, pink has snuck its way in, is healing, abundance, heart, and love. Why is it abundance? Because money is green. Nature is, we are abundant in nature. But if you went to a different country, let's say where their money was, I don't know, purple. Let's say their money was purple. Then you may find purple would have an abundance energy to it. So when you say, well, why is green abundance? One of the reasons is it's the color of American money. It used to be. Money isn't quite green anymore. But anyway, heart and love. Blues, light blue and dark blue, are going to have to do with the throat and the third eye, or the brow chakra. So that's going to be your intuition, psychic communication, understanding. Purple is, again, your crown chakra, your connection to the divine, so it's going to be spiritual energy. Black, anything black is going to be associated with the base chakra. Red is going to be grounding and protective. When we're grounded, we're protected. If you've got both feet on the ground, it's very hard. If you're grounded, centered, you're very well protected usually. It's very hard to knock somebody off their feet when they are grounded and protected. So you can choose a crystal by the color. Now, if you would like, you may want to, matter of fact, let me just go back here. If you want, you may want to take a screenshot of that, or if you want to take a photograph of it, and that way you'll have just a cheat sheet on your phone for next time you go into a crystal shop, and I'll also do the same, suggest the same for your other. You don't have to, it's just, you'll have a cheat sheet on your phone on how to pick crystals by color. Did everybody get it? So at home, you can take a screenshot. Everybody's like, how do I do a screenshot? Okay. And here are just a few that I have for abundance, health, spiritual intuition, calm, and decision. But I made a mistake. This turquoise is on the wrong line. The turquoise goes down here. I realized that. And I already asked Kevin to fix one typo for me. I didn't want to ask him to fix two. So that turquoise goes down here. So for abundance, I love pyrite. It's one of my favorites. I have pyrite over there. Pyrite is fool's gold. And it's sparkly and sharp. It's wonderful. Moss agate, it's green moss agate, it's green. Ruby is wonderful for abundance, as well as any sort of green. So green calcite, jade, green aventurine. Health, you want to have good blood. So garnet is a good, rich, red blood color. Bloodstone is red and green, but it's bloodstone. Leopard jasper is known for being very good for hospital stays. It's different than leopard skin jasper. Today, leopard jasper is also known as calligraphy jasper. And that's another thing. You will find that stones, they're the same stones, but their names have changed. There's one company that's famous for finding a crystal, buying it out, and buying it up, changing the name, making a really good write-up, and then everybody wants it. Yeah. So a lot of times they change. As a matter of fact, indigo gabbro, which is one for the spiritual intuition, is also called merlinite. Now, you may be more excited to buy merlinite, but you're getting indigo gabbro. Fluorite, apophyllite, amethyst, lapis. Edgar Cayce loved lapis for spiritual growth and intuition. It was one of the most recommended stones. Calming. Oh, I love citrine for calm. I think of citrine as nature's little Valium. It's yellow. It's going to keep the mind, quiet the mind. Orange calcite. Orange calcite, if you see it, it looks like an orange creamsicle. And it just is the happy stone. Any sort of jasper. Jasper is a Mother Earth stone. There's a stone called Mother Earth, separate from that. It's a stone of the earth. It's a very protective stone. It's a safe stone. It's going to feel like mama. Black tourmaline is a protection stone, but it also keeps negativity away. Que sera, sera. I have a 16-year-old who helps me with my crystals, and I was like, you know, like the song, and she's just looking at me like, she had no idea what I was talking about. Anyway, I feel old sometimes working with a 16-year-old. So que sera, like the song, it just helps you be calm. And lepidolite is, think lithium, lepidolite. Decision making, you want crystals that both boost your intuition and your mental health. And so citrine, yellow, mental, amethyst, connection to the divine, tiger's eye, grounding, but also anything with an eye in it is going to give you good vision. Amazonite. Why Amazonite? Amazonite is a beautiful pale blue stone that's known to keep away the inner critic. And sometimes when we're trying to make good decisions, we need to keep away that inner critic. And hematite's going to ground us. And for anybody who's going through heat flashes, you may want a whole bag of hematite because it's cooling. And so, you just stick it where you need it. Okay. So these are just a few of my favorites that I like for different purposes. But again, this is Cindy's reaction to a crystal. And these are maybe, I would even say, some archetypal energies associated with crystals. Throughout the ages, lapis has been associated with high spiritual and intuition, right? But what's more important, and I cannot stress this as much, I can't stress it enough, is how you feel about it, how you react to it. Okay. Now, supporting your intention. So here we are. We're going to set our intention. To do that, we're going to find a divination card. Doesn't have to be the crystal deck. Could be any deck. Could be a tarot deck, if you know your tarot. Find a divination card, and choose an object. In this workshop today, in this class today, we're using crystals. But like I said, it could be your happy Buddha. It could be an angel. Let's say you want a protection. You want to just set the intention that you feel safe. Maybe it's an Archangel Michael with his sword and his head on the demon, you know. Maybe it's a statue of Archangel Michael. Although to me, Archangel Michael is John Travolta. I just, you know, it will always be that way. Whenever I channel Archangel Michael, that's the feeling I get, you know, serious but fun. Anyway, so it doesn't have to be a crystal, but tonight that's what we're working on. So, the divination card helps set your mind to what you really want, and it creates it real and solid, creates a concrete representation of what you're doing. I don't know about you, but I am constantly squirrel, squirrel, you know, so this really sets it. It creates the concrete representation, so it brings you back to conscious reminder, conscious awareness. It's like a to-do list. Like for me, if it's not written, it doesn't get done, right? So if it's not, you know, this gives you this conscious reminder. The crystals energize your intention because they carry their own energy, but also they carry the energy because if you're using a crystal deck, they're extra imbued with the saying in the represented card. And it supports your intention for what you need to succeed. So now we're going to support your intention by creating the sacred space. Creating mindfulness, we have learned about divination cards, how, why, how to use them, you know. We've learned a little bit about crystals, how, why, how to use them. And now we're going to talk about the sacred space. I want you to see, when we first moved into our home in Virginia Beach, we moved from upstate New York, which if you've ever lived in upstate New York, it is not a wealthy community. We lived in a beautiful community in an old farmhouse, but we had a little bit of sticker shock when we moved here because everything was so expensive. I mean, we downsized and our house was more expensive. Like everything was more, except for car insurance, but anyway. So everything was more expensive. And so we were just really broke. And then we moved into a house that the numerology for feng shui was good, but for my numerology, I do tarot numerology, was not good for money. It was 15, not a good money house. So we were just broke all the time. And I was not having it. If you haven't noticed, I'm a little strong-willed, right? I was not having this broke thing. So I paid Peggy Cross what I thought was a lot of money, and now I look at it, it was worth every penny. Peggy Cross, I want her to come back. I have to get a hold of her. She's a feng shui person, a local feng shui person. She's fabulous. She came and she feng shuied the house. And one of the things she pointed out to me was my money corner was not neat. And my money corner was not set up feng shui well. So this is my money corner now. Okay, and this is what I want to talk about creating an intentional space. Now, if you walked into my money corner in my house happens to be in my bedroom, you wouldn't know that was a feng shui fix, right? It just looks like a bunch of pretties put together. But everything on this table, or it's top of my dresser actually, is purposeful. It's intentional. When I look at it in the morning, I am reminded of that this is my money corner and I am abundant. So what goes into this? This picture was hanging at my mother's house for years and years, and I got it. I may have taken it a little early, but I got it. And I've always loved it. So anyway, it's called Evening Prayer, or Morning Prayer, I forget, Evening Prayer, I think. And I think of this as expressing gratitude. So my consciousness, my conscious intention by placing that is expressing gratitude. Then my grandmother painted this box. It's facing down. Usually I have it facing up. I don't know why it's facing down. But that to me is ancestor. My grandmother started belly dancing at 83. She would drive around with her sneakers in her VW, and like crazy. And she just was this like power woman, right? She was all the goddesses rolled up into one. And so I feel like no matter what I need, except for husband advice, would not take that from grandma, I feel like she covers me. But I also, Kuan Yin, I want my spiritual blueprint to be of compassion. So Kuan Yin is the mother of compassion, or the blueprint of compassion, right? So I have Kuan Yin here. She's pouring out her abundance to the world. There's all sorts of stuff going on here. Now this purple thing here, years ago, I became a minister. And I became a minister, and it was my commitment to my spiritual growth. I don't use reverend in my name. I could marry you if you want. Well, I don't know about Virginia's rules. In New York, I could marry you. No urge to do that. I'm loving what I'm doing otherwise. But it was my commitment to the divine, my commitment to my ideal, even though I didn't know what ideals were at that time. And so this was, I got it in Italy at one of the monasteries for, well, if it was Italy, it was probably St. Francis. Anyway, and it's a shawl that you would wear in a religious service. So this reminds me of my commitment to the divine. And I feel that my abundance is directly connected to my connection and my commitment to the divine. I feel that the divine takes care of me, and if I don't got it, probably means I don't need it, right? Then underneath here, and I shouldn't be telling you this, and the whole world, because this is on Facebook, but under here is a $100 bill. That is trust, that I will always have enough money that I can afford to keep a $100 bill under Kuan Yin. So there's a $100 bill under there. Red and purple are the feng shui colors for abundance and for your money corner. Growth, we have this beautiful live green plant. In this red container are crystals that are known for abundance, including a fairy cross. And you happen to live only a few hours from where you can get fairy crosses, they're hard to find, right out of the dirt. We ended up buying them at the gift store to get a good one. But anyway, there's a fairy cross in there. Chaziolite there. Also chaziolite, I think there's a chaziolite in there. Anyway, so this whole thing is my commitment, and this is purple. It looks black, but it's purple. Although it's so dusty, it's probably black by now, because when do you take that apart, to dust that? But anyway, this whole thing is creating an intentional sacred space. Now, you don't have to do one just for money. It's not all about money, right? As a matter of fact, my money corner is not all about money. It's about family, my commitment to God, compassion, gratitude, growth. But to me, they all are components to abundance in general. And here, in my money corner, financial abundance. And these have no meaning whatsoever. They just hold up that box. Just in case you're asking, well, what about the teal boxes? Actually, you'll notice that the wall perfectly matches those, because I took those boxes to the store and I said, this is the color I want my walls. All right. So you need to know your intention. You pick a space. You choose your objects. How long do you want it to stay there? Well, I knew that the last one I created was not moving, right? I may have, every once in a while, lift up the cup and go, try to blow some of the dust off. But it doesn't move. But that's not, maybe you have children. And so that's like a joke, right? You know, if it could stay there 5 minutes, that would be great, right? So then you do your 5-minute one. You may put a little extra oomph into it or do a little meditation around it to further, you know, or take a picture and put it on your phone and then make that your screensaver. So you may not still have it set up in real life because you have kids or a cat. Cat would make a trash out of that, you know, or a dog. But you have it on your screensaver so that every time you see it, you're bringing it back into your conscious memory. Make it your Facebook, you know, thing. Where will that intention best be activated? Using feng shui is a wonderful way to empower. I don't have time to go into the blah, 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 blah thing, the feng shui thing, map. What is it called? Bagua. Thank you very much. I don't have time to go into the Bagua. I want to go into Bhagavad Gita, right? You know, it's like different class. But you may want to look and say let's say you want to do family, right? You want to set the intention to remember not to you know, tell your sister what you really think, right? You know, so we want to put that in the brother and sister section, right? You know, get a big heart, a big rhodochrosite. Where is it going to be best activated? Then you pick your divination card, your crystals, and then whatever else you want to add, right? Whatever else you want to add. So let's put it all together. We have a little bit under a half an hour. It will not take that long, I promise. We're going to review. Set your intention. What do you want? What consciousness? So this is where the ideals come. Edgar Cayce says if you have an idea or an ideal, something that you want to institute into your spiritual life, a vibration you want to surround yourself, you need to know what that spiritual ideal is. You need to know what headset is going to help you achieve that. And then you need to know what physical things you're going to do to activate that ideal in your life. Excuse me. And I feel like this process is very similar. What do you want? What's going to help you? Which card, in our case? What energy or crystal? Then we create a sacred space, physical action, and then give it time. Ooh, and allow the result. A new concept. I didn't make a separate slide for this because I figured I could slide it in, if you know what I mean. You need to well, you don't need to do a darn thing. It works best if you allow for the change needed for the intention to manifest. So let's say I want to be able to go away for a month. We actually do. We are very blessed. We go away for a month, except for COVID messed it up, but we go to the Dominican for a month, and we do work. It's a work vacation, and we get a lot of work done. But I had this dream for a long time before we manifested it, and so we had to make room for it. Well, we had a cat. Now we have a parakeet. We had a cat. Who am I going to get to take care of the cat for a month, right? That I don't have to pay a pet sitter that's going to charge me more than it's going to cost me to go away for a month, right? You know? So we had to start, even though we weren't ready yet, we had to start making room for it, imagining, how am I going to get my cat taken care of? What am I going to do? How am I going to work with clients from the Dominican? Well, maybe we need to start looking at technology so that when we're ready, we can do it. We're removing or making the room to allow the result to come in so that we could. Maybe it's, you know, I want to spend more time with my grandkids, but I work full-time and I volunteer full-time. How do I make room? How can you may set that intention, but if you don't start clearing room in your schedule, you haven't made room for the intention to manifest. So thinking also about that is important. Okay, so we're going to start with, when I looked at these cards, which were the ones that were the most direct? And I came up with rhodochrosite. Rhodochrosite is this one here. Remember your worth. I thought that was really a good thing for financial abundance. And then shift your money mindset, A.R.E. That's a really good one. And I just went through these cards and I pulled these out, right? Adventurine, create your own luck. That's kind of about the making room, right? Well, that's a good one. That would be a wonderful one to set your intention. And then pyrite, let the money flow in. Let it in. Well, I thought, well, that's good for most direct. But I thought about Casey and ideals, and I said, but what mentally do I need to attract abundance? So I thought, what mental support? And so I pulled some more. Tiger's eye, overcoming your fears. That's a good one. Apophyllite, stay positive. That's a good mental attitude. I love this. Angel aura quartz, lighten up. Right? What is lighten up? And then tourmalinated, I cannot say this, tourmalinated quartz. Get out of your own way. I thought, oh, that's a really good one, right? Get out of your own way. So I thought, okay, mentally, remember my worth, shift my money mindset, create my own luck. Now, I could use any of these to create my sacred space, you know? But then I thought, what about my emotions? I want to take care of myself, kind of body, mind, and spirit. You know, what about emotions? So, let it go. There is a let it go. And that was a big thing for me because one of the things I had to let go was confession time. One of the things I had to let go was I'm known as a psychic and a spiritual teacher. That's like my name tag. And then all of a sudden during COVID, because that business wasn't doing it, you know, although A.R.E, we still did a bunch of things even in the middle of COVID online. But anyway, so I started this crystal business kind of like just a little extra. You know, I've always had 5 hats going on at once. And it became so busy that I haven't had a lot of time for the psychic and this teaching as much. And I had to let that go. I had to let go of where I thought my value and my worth needed to be. And I see people so happy with these crystals, you know, and that I feel that it's just a different way to be of service. So, but I had to let it go. Then golden healer, open the door, right? You got to open the door with the golden healer. Chrysophase, allow yourself to receive. Well, sometimes you may need a whole packet of chrysophase because, you know, it's an allowance, right? It's like, how do you accept compliments? The hardest thing for me was to learn how to say, thank you. You know, oh, I like your hair. You know, oh, it's a mess today. Or, oh, yeah, you know. No, thank you. That was really hard for me. So I made myself a whole pouch. And you don't need big crystals, right? I mean, these are like 50 cents. A little whole pouch of little Amazonites for me to remember. Or chrysophase, sorry. Amazonite would be a good pouch too. I'm not going to get them back in there without, oh, no, there they go, without spilling them. We're just going to lay that down. So allow yourself to receive chrysophase. And then rhodonite, remember that was this heart, a pretty little heart. Find a way to forgive. Oh, forgive. And I thought that was energy that I needed to support myself emotionally for abundance. And then, you know, you just got to do. You know, at some point, you just have to do. Otherwise, you're a wisher, not a make it happen person, right? So selenite, clear the clutter. And that's big right now for me because I'm changing, the business is growing so much, I'm so excited, that and remember I said my psychic business is shrinking a little, so I've changed, and the big room that used to be my office for psychic readings is now the crystal room, and so we're moving, and we'll switch, and the littler room will become my psychic office, although I'm not giving that up in any way, shape, or form. But our house is a disaster right now. And we also just finished construction, obviously, with my roof story. All right, so there's clutter everywhere. So I thought, oh, selenite, clear the clutter. And then I love this, shungite. Shungite is a crystal. This is an example. It's a detoxifier. Shungite also is excellent if you're near a computer all the time to have a little shungite. And again, it doesn't have to be a fancy pyramid. It can be a little piece. But it's detoxify your life. Then we have red jasper, take action. What have you done today for your financial abundance? And hematite, ground yourself. Well, I made a little pouch of hematite too, because not only is it good for protection, not only is it good, it's good for grounding. And if you have a room of crystals about half the size of the bookstore, you will know that you're not very grounded because you're buzzing all the time, right? Bzz, 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 bzz. So anyway, so we have ground yourself. So what does it look like? All right, so let's go over and let's create this. All right, we're gonna leave these things here. I'm bringing my water. Okay, Kevin, we're going over here. So, you guys see. Now, what I did is I put it up here for you that are here because it's gonna be really hard to see here, right? The first thing I have is my husband made for me this prosperity thing. We took a piece of jade that we got from anyway, we've got a piece of jade. So jade is good for abundance and good luck. And my husband made this, and I picked pyrite. Let the money flow in. To me, that was if we took all of the things that we talked about, that was the biggest. Let the money flow in. Like, allow it. Allow the abundance. That was big for me. So I'm going to put my card here. Now, you don't need a fancy divination card holder, right? You can go to A.C. Moore. Well, you can't go to A.C. Moore anymore, can you? You can go to Michael's or Walmart or Target or whatever and pick up just a little frame holder, something like that, and it'll work just fine. Or you can lean it up against the wall, right? Or a lamp, anything. Make it stand up. So we've got our divination card. So we're seeing that the main energy here, the main intention is to let the money flow in. So I also, though, have 2 pyrite. Now, I am a little OCD, so everything has to be matchy-matchy, right? So I need to have 2. So we have 1 for this side and 1 for this side. So we have matchy-matchy, 2 little pyrites. Now, those pyrites are not expensive. Pyrite is very inexpensive, especially depending on quality. I think these were $6 or $8 each, right? Then I have, so that's the brain. Then I have get out of your own way. I thought that for me was key. So I could put this over here, or I could just know that the tourmalated quartz that I have is going to represent that. My brain is not very good lately. So personally, I didn't have room when I did the display, but personally, I would leave the card there too, right? Just because I can't remember. But I don't need to have the picture, so I'm going to put it right on top. So we have a piece of tourmalinated quartz that's going to remind me, get out of the way, get out of the way. Then I have smoky quartz. Let it go. Let it go, right? Because I felt like for me with my, now this is giving you into some of my issues, right? For me, I just needed to let it go. I needed to let it go. I needed to let go that I was not putting the same time and energy into my psychic business as I had in the past. I had to just let it go. So that's there for that. Oops. Oh, you know what? I added one from my picture. Well, we have an extra. Okay. Then we have healer quartz. Open the door. And so healer quartz, maybe we'll put that right in front. And golden healer is a beautiful stone. It's quartz, and then it has, what's golden healer have in it that makes it golden? Hematite, right? I think it's hematite. Anyway, has other elements in it that change it color. Golden healer. And golden healer is open the door. So we're going to open the door. And then I have, well, maybe we'll do it this way. And then I have selenite. Selenite is clear the clutter. And I just have these little, tiny little things of selenite. Clear the clutter. And there we have created a sacred space. But what I would do then is I would spend a few minutes, ground, this is my stance, you know, ground, center. Remember, my intention is to attract abundance, and how I'm going to support that, is through letting the money flow, getting out of my own way, letting go what I thought I should be doing and what I'm doing, open the door to the abundance, and clearing the clutter is a very practical thing. And there I have said it. Now, every time I walk by this, even if I didn't have the cards there, it would remind me. Would I remember of every little step? Probably not. But it would remind me, oh, wait a minute. Boy, today I wasn't letting it go. Today I wasn't opening the door. Today I wasn't clearing the clutter. Whatever it is, right? So I have something for the overall concept. I have something for the mind, the emotions, and then the physical, right? To get it done. And then I could leave this here for an hour. Maybe I have cats. Crash, right? So if not, I can take a picture of it. I could even print the picture out and put it on my refrigerator, right? We don't need to keep this up. It's different than a grid. A grid is a different class. If you're interested in grids, come to one of the psychic fairs. Elisa, who's sitting in the back there, she gives a talk on grids and setting up grids. That's a different thing. The concept is the same. You're supporting an intention. But it's done differently. This is not a grid. This is a sacred space. But the most sacred space you have is within yourself. Right? That's the sacred space. So as long as you have this in your consciousness, you don't need to have it here. But a visual reminder is helpful. And so that's why I'm saying if you can't leave it up because of kids, cats, whatever, you know, life, then take a picture of it and put it someplace where you're going to see it. Now, let's take some time for, hold on. Let's take some time for questions. Any questions? We'll start here. Anybody in here have questions that you might want to ask? Just raise your hand and we'll bring a microphone. Okay. What about online? Do we have questions online? Well, let's go with it.
Okay. So, as far as the chakras,
yeah.
For the turquoise, where would the turquoise go on the chakra realm?
Well, turquoise is a different color. It's a combination of blue and green. And so to me, it would be a combination of really probably light blue and green. And so you're talking about the throat chakra, which is the one about communication, and the heart, which is about love. And so I would think that turquoise would intellectually would represent a combining communication, creativity, all that's in that light blue chakra, along with compassion and healing. But for me personally, turquoise is, I'm in the Dominican, and I'm looking at that beautiful turquoise water, and so for me, it's right? So in your personal relationship with the crystal is same as your personal relationship with the color. I don't care how much you should be using orange because you're trying to get pregnant or you're trying to birth a new project. If you don't like orange, it's not going to work, right? Then what I would say is there's other ways to support. But so turquoise is a combination of blue and green. As we know, sometimes it's more blue, sometimes it's more green. And that's how I would look at it, as a combination. Not every color fits into the chakra program, the chakra archetype. So then Casey had colors like peach, right? He had, peach was kind of funny. I think peach was immaturity. But Casey had different colors. Now, Casey wrote, the only book that Casey wrote, it says Casey on such and such. Casey didn't write that. That's a compilation of the readings that Casey had about that topic. Or it's somebody's interpretation about what Casey said about a topic. But Casey did write a book. And it was an aura pamphlet. And it was one of the main things in there was what the different colors meant to Edgar Casey. Right? Again, it may not mean that to you. To me, pink is empathy. When I see pink in an aura anyway, it's empathy and compassion, whereas green is the healer. But anyway. So, but you can get that, not today, I didn't think to have them bring it out, but you can get that book through the A.R.E. bookstore. And do you remember what it's called, the Aura book?
Auras and Colors.
Auras and Colors. Auras and Colors by Tedeschi and Carol Ann Lieros. And in the back of it is that pamphlet. Well, it's a reprinting in the back of it. So if you're interested in colors, I highly recommend Auras and Colors by that book. Yes, another question?
Will crystals in jewelry work as well as whole single crystals?
Yes, and I never thought so until I put on this selenite bracelet. So it is, I think it works better if it's against your skin.
And are raw crystals better to use than polished?
No. I know some people feel that once a crystal's been polished, it's been used and abused. If you feel that way, it's not going to work as well. But unless you feel that way, then I wouldn't worry about it. It's the crystal, right? It's the crystal. What will happen once you take a crystal and polish it is it will take on the added energy or archetypal energy of the shape it's been polished into. Does that make sense? Like our heart, right? So not only the rhodonite is heart-centered because it's pink, pink is heart-centered, and grounding because it's black. It's got extra heart-centered energy because it's been shaped into a heart. If this was a step pyramid, it would have the added energy of Egypt, because it's a step pyramid, but also it's a pyramid. So it would also have the added energy, like the Shungite pyramid, of upward movement on a grounded base, right? Because a pyramid, 4, the number 4, grounded. It's like you don't want a stool with 3 legs We used to have stools with 3 legs. They were called birthing stools, but we used to have stools with 3 legs, and they were, you'd always be like, whoa, right? You want 4 legs because it's grounded, but then it comes up to a point and it sends the energy up. So this shungite not only has clearing and purifying detoxification energy, it also has the archetypal energy of the pyramid, and you can Google metaphysical properties of a pyramid, right? Google's great, and it'll give you what a pyramid does. Yes, anything else?
And so crystals, some crystals have colors infused into them,
Like fake colors, you mean?
fake colors. So how would that affect a crystal? Would it
It's
have-
going to give, just like this gained the archetypal energy of the heart when it was shaped like a heart. If you have crystal that has then been, whether it's the A.R.E treatment, the titanium treatment, or somebody took howlite and dyed it blue to sell it to you as turquoise, which does get done, watch out when you buy turquoise, it's going to have the vibration of the color. We are using crystals here. There's no reason why you couldn't go to Michael's and get the glass little, you know, those little things you put in the bottom of the dishes, right? With the color, and put that in a cup, and that be your spiritual, get purple, and then you're talking purple crown chakra spiritual energy. It's not going to be the same as an amethyst or the same as a lepidolite, but it's going to give you the purple energy. So when we talked about what do crystals do by color, you would get the advantage of the color even in glass. And that's why a lot of times you'll see, and I love it when your water cups, you know, your carry cups come in different colors, right? Because it infuses whatever you're drinking with the color of the cup. Okay. Any questions from up here at all? All right. Well, I happen to have met your next speaker for next month, whose name just disappeared out of my head. Who's coming next month? Eben. Yeah, Eben Alexander. I met him on his book tour, and he is just a fabulous speaker. I'm not sure if he's going to be speaking about sound and vibration or if he's speaking about his near-death experience. But either way, you guys are in for a treat. I hope you tune in and listen to Eben. He's just a fabulous speaker. We do have the decks for sale today. If you're on Facebook, you can contact the bookstore in the morning. What's the phone number? 757 457 7231. Don't ask me to repeat that. You can call the bookstore in the morning and they can ship anything to you. So we do have these books here, and we also have my books. We have Grow Your Spiritual Business. If you're interested in growing a spiritual business, it has a lot of information in there. And then Soul Soother's mini meditations for busy lives. It's meditations for people if you're high strung like me or just not good at sitting. Thank you very much. It is 7:29. I think we are ending perfectly at our 7:30 time frame. And thank you for coming out. And thank you for dropping in. All righty. And thank you for starting Conscious Community Service again, A.R.E. Bookstore.
Thank you for being the first to restart it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. If you need to find me, all my information is up there. All right. Thank you.